Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle Herbalist, the podcast where holistic wellness meets everyday living. I'm your host, Dabney. I'm a registered dental hygienist, a clinical herbalist, and a certified health coach.
And I'm your co-host, Sabrina Cooper, a registered dental hygienist with a bachelor's in oral health promotion, a certified culinary nutritionist and herbalist, and a mindfulness and mindful eating coach. Together, we explore the intersection of holistic health, herbal wisdom, and joyful living. From plant-powered remedies to kitchen medicine, mindful moments, and conversations that feed the soul, we're here to help you feel vibrant, grounded, and inspired in your daily life. So steep a cup of something soothing, settle in, and let's grow well together one episode at a time, bringing you a healthy dose of happiness.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about something that's everywhere in the health space, and that's intermittent fasting. And this is one of those topics where people tend to fall into two camps. They either love it and swear by it, or they try it and it quietly feels worse. And this happened for me. It did not make me feel better. And what I see in their practice is that a lot of people are doing intermittent fasting because they think they should, not because it actually makes them feel good in their body. So today we're going to break this down and really be honest in a practical way. We're going to cover what intermittent fasting actually does in the body, the benefits and when it can actually work, where it backfires, who it's good for, and who really needs to be cautious, because this is not a one-size-fits-all tool. At its core, intermittent fasting is just cycling between periods of eating and not eating. Most people are doing some version of this, skipping breakfast, having coffee in the morning, and eating their first meal around noon. Maybe they're following a 16 to 8 window, and even just unintentionally going long stretches without food. So on the surface, it can seem simple. But behind the scenes, something really important is happening. The body still needs to maintain its blood sugar even when we're not eating. So when food isn't coming in, the body has to create energy from within. And the primary way to do this is by using stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Now, that's not inherently bad. The question is, how well does your body handle that demand? So let's talk about the pros when intermittent fasting works well. Let's start with the positive side, because intermittent fasting can absolutely be helpful in the right context. This tends to work well for people who wake up feeling rested. They have steady energy throughout the day. They don't feel shaky or irritable if they delay a meal, and they don't rely heavily on caffeine to function. So for example, this might happen when someone wakes up, has water or coffee, and generally isn't hungry until 11 or 12. They feel clear-headed, focused, and calm, not jittery or anxious. They're not pushing through hunger and it just feels natural. But what this means physiologically is that their body metabolically is flexible. They can switch between burning glucose and fat without being a stress response. Their cortisol rises appropriately in the morning and doesn't spike excessively just to keep going. Their blood sugar stays relatively stable even without consistent food intake. Another group that can benefit from fasting is people dealing with insulin resistance. This might look like someone who feels hungry all the time, snacks frequently, experiences energy crashes after meals, or struggles with weight despite eating healthy. In that case, intermittent fasting can give an insulin a break, improve how the body responds to glucose, and reduces the constant grazing. But again, this works best when the body has enough resilience to handle that fasting window without overcompensating. So let's now talk about where intermittent fasting can backfire. The other side of the coin is because this is where I see a lot of people struggling. Fasting is a stressor. And again, not all stress is bad, but if your body is already under stress, adding more doesn't create adaptation. It creates compensation. And this is where symptoms start to show up. You feel wired but tired. This is probably one of the most common patterns I see in my clients. People skip breakfast, have coffee, and initially you feel great. Focused, productive, maybe even a little energized, feeling like you're on. But then late morning or early afternoon hits and things look different. That crash happens. Energy drops, the feeling of overwhelmed, maybe even feeling anxious. So, what's happening in the body? That initial energy boost wasn't stable energy, it was cortisol and adrenaline. And the body was compensating for the lack of food by pushing those stress hormones. So instead of running on nourishment, you were running on stress. What happens was the blood sugar crashed. Another common experience is going too long without eating and suddenly feeling shaky, irritable, lightheaded, or intense sugar cravings. That hangry feeling that many of us know about. What this means is that the body is struggling to maintain blood sugar without external fuel. So it swings between stress hormone-driven highs and reactive lows. And that roller coaster, well, it's exhausting. Poor sleep, especially waking between 1 and 4 a.m., this is a big one. You fall asleep just fine, but wake up in the middle of the night, wide awake. Sometimes your mind is racing. You feel like a subtle sense of anxiety. What's happening is that your blood sugar is likely dropped overnight. Your body releases cortisol to bring it back up, and that's what wakes you up. If you're fasting during the day, you may already be depleting your reserves, which makes this more likely. Let's talk about hair thinning and stalled healing. This one surprises people. They're doing everything right, eating clean, fasting, even disciplined. But then they notice their hair starts to feel thinner, their skin isn't healing well, and progress feels stalled. What this means is that your body is prioritizing survival over repair. Skin, hair, and regeneration are not essential for immediate survival. So when the body perceives stress or scarcity, it diverts resources away from those processes. So who should be cautious about intermittent fasting? I think this is the most important part of this whole episode, because for some people, intermittent fasting isn't just unhelpful, it's counterproductive. So if you rely on caffeine to function, if you wake up and feel like you need coffee just to feel human, or without it you feel foggy, exhausted, or low, that's a sign your body is already leaning on stimulation. Adding fasting increases that demand. If you have intense cravings or feel out of control around food, maybe you tried to be good all day, but by afternoon or evening, you're reaching for sugar, overeating, or feeling like your willpower disappears. That's often a blood sugar issue, and fasting tends to amplify that cycle, not fix it. If you feel anxious, reactive, or easily overwhelmed, if things feel big, if you feel on the edge or overstimulated, that's a sign that your nervous system is already in a heightened state. Fasting adds another layer of stress signaling. If you're feeling like you're burnout or have low resilience, this might feel like constant fatigue, low motivation, feel like the small tasks take such an effort. In my world, I see this reflected on an HTMA as low sodium, low potassium, low sodium to potassium ratio, slow oxidation. This tells me that the body is already struggling to keep up with stress. And that body doesn't need more stress, it needs support. So what do you do instead? So if you're listening and thinking, boy, that's me, the goal is not to push harder. It's to stabilize your system. Start with this. Eat within 1 hour of waking, even if it's something simple. Eggs and fruit, a protein smoothie, yogurt, and added protein. Protein is going to help anchor your satiety through the morning. It helps the blood sugar early in the day. And I want you to eat every 3 to 4 hours. Instead of pushing through hunger, you're responding to it. You're giving your body constant fuel so it doesn't have to rely on stress hormones. And you're giving your body a sense of safety. It's not going to be in the famine state. You want to prioritize protein and minerals, meals that actually satisfy. Protein, whole foods, adequate salt, and minerals. This supports adrenal function and overall stability. So here's the takeaway. Intermittent fasting isn't good or bad. It's a tool. And the effectiveness of that tool depends on the state of your body. If your body is stable, resilient, and well supported, it may benefit from fasting. But if your body is already stressed, depleted, or struggling, fasting will push it further in the wrong direction. If you've tried fasting and felt worse, it's not a failure. That's feedback. And when you start listening to that feedback and working with your body instead of against it, that's when things start to change. If you want a deeper look into what your body specifically needs, this is exactly why I use HTMA with my clients. It assesses mineral balance, stress patterns, and overall resilience. Because healing is not a one-size-fits-all. Hey, thanks for being here. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Be healthy.